I am going to ask my friend Jose Morales explain to us in full detail what experiences you had and how your near-death experience ended.
What I am going to tell from now on is what I experienced. In a corner between a piece of furniture and the wall, my lifeless body, and I ended up being in a space of neutral brightness. Then I looked to my right and there was a being of light.
Welcome to the Eternal Life Channel, Answers from Science. The in-depth study of near-death experiences provides us with a series of objective evidence and other types of evidence with a scientific basis that allow us to assert that physical death is not the end of our existence, but that after physical death, our true identity continues in another energetic situation. Let's remember, following the definition by Bruce Grayson, a psychiatrist from the University of Virginia, the definition or concept we have of near-death experiences. They are subjective, profound experiences with a transcendent components in patients who are near death and transcend space, time, and the ego. Today, for me, it is a source of satisfaction to be able to introduce my friend, Dr. Jose Morales. He is a doctor with experience in near-death experiences, and I am sure that his contribution will help us delve even deeper into the understanding of near-death experiences. Doctor and friend, Jose Morales, it is, I repeat, a great satisfaction for me to have you here with us today. And I repeat once more that I am sure your experience and knowledge in near-death experiences will help to deepen and understand in intensity and in their pathophysiology the near-death experiences. Thank you very much for accepting this kind invitation.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your channel. It is not only a pleasure, but also an honor to be here by your side and to be able to share all this content.
Thank you very much, Jose. Very briefly, a short summary of my friend Jose Morales' curriculum. Dr. Jose Morales was born in Lerida, obtained his degree in medicine and surgery at the University of Lerida in the Faculty of Medicine. He is a specialist in family and community medicine. He has a master's degree in emergency medicine, a master's in behavioral psychotherapy, and is a teacher in family medicine master's programs. Well, and with this brief introduction, we will begin a series of questions and interactions between him and me about near-death experiences, which I repeat, I think will be highly important for the understanding of near-death experiences. Friend Jose, have you ever experienced a near-death experience, and how long ago was it, if you really had one?
Yes, indeed, I have had a near-death experience. I had it almost 2.5 years ago, and it was during a very happy time in my life. At a time when I didn't expect this, but it happened.
Had you previously had any experience related to NDEs, or was it your first encounter with this transcendent phenomenon? Well, we are also interested in knowing what the trigger was. Logically, near-death experiences involve a lack of cerebral irrigation. What was the trigger in your case for the near-death experience? Why did it occur?
I had a cardiac arrhythmia for some time before that sometimes became unbalanced and caused me problems. And in this context, when I was, as I said, in a very happy time of my life, there was I was living in a place that for me is a dream, which is the Ebro Delta. I was working in the health center. I felt very, very good, very well accepted, very well I worked very comfortably in my job. Well, on a day that I took a nap, when I got up, I lost consciousness, and from there, everything unfolded.
I want to clarify a concept, which is cardiac rhythm disorders are a consequence of an alteration in the heart's excitatory conductive tissue. The excitoconductive tissue of the heart, a fiber formed by an Ash-Optavara node, the His bundle and its branches, is a part of the cardiac tissue that conditions continuous stimuli throughout our life. That will determine the contractility of the heart. When alterations occur in this excitoconductive system, it is when the appearance of arrhythmias is conditioned. And it was precisely one that triggered the near-death experience that Dr. Jose Morales tells us about. Well, for us, it is of great interest that a doctor knowledgeable about human anatomy and physiology has personally experienced a near-death experience and can tell us about it. The factors of truthfulness, logically, reach their highest expression here. I am going to ask my friend Jose Morales, explain to us in every detail, descriptively, from beginning to end, how did you experience it? How did it happen? How did it start? What experiences did you have? And how did your near-death experience end?
Please, Jose.
Yes. As I was saying, when I got up from a nap on a weekend, I sat up and lost consciousness. And now what I'm going to tell from now on is what I experienced. As I say, I lost consciousness, and my next conscious experience was seeing myself dissociated outside my body from my own height, as if I were standing and sawing in a corner between a piece of furniture and the wall, my inert body, which was not breathing. And I, who am a person used to seeing people in exitus, because in 40 years of profession, I, who have been mainly a rural doctor, always when there is a death, the doctor has to go and certify the death. So with what I saw, I was amazed. I was perplexed. I saw my body there and understood that was my body and my dying, and my body was something inert, something dead. The next thing, I felt a sensation like being sucked into a sort of whirlpool, and I appeared in a space dark, limitless, in which I saw myself as if I were floating, like sometimes you see divers in the middle of the ocean, right?
I saw myself there floating, looking at my body as if it were
illuminated by a non-existent spotlight, and when I looked up, I saw a light, and my body, my consciousness, what I saw of myself was like being drawn towards that light. I even felt the breeze, a very pleasant breeze, as I approached that light. For a while, I was heading there, and as I headed there, I felt increasingly calmer, more and more like accepting the situation.
And upon reaching that light, I saw myself
in an alpine landscape, like if from a summit you are able to see a valley, a very beautiful valley, a valley with beautiful colors, with a lot of contrast, with a lot of brightness, where everything was peace, everything was tranquility, everything was connection. There was a feeling of connection there like I have never felt before, of feeling one with everything. That calmed my mood and filled me with a deep peace. No, as time went by, that experiential time of the experience it was becoming more and more more whitish, more neutral. And I ended up being in a space of neutral brightness in which, so to speak, there was nothing. Looked to my left and saw there, a few meters away, a friend from my youth whom I lost when I was 23 years old, named Tomás José. He had been my sole friend for a few years, and I had been the same for him. It is a very significant person whom it hurt me a lot to lose. Because he was an extraordinarily brilliant person, somewhat older than me, who suffered a brain tumor and who underwent a surgical procedure to try to remove it. Think mid-70s, huh? It's not like today when we have so many imaging techniques. So he underwent surgery to try to eradicate that. And as a result of that, he was in a coma for 2 years. And when he came back, he who would have been about 23 years old then, he had a deformation here, a consequence of the surgery. He was blind. He also had hemiparesis on the right side of his body, and yet what surprised me, I saw him there in his splendor. He wasn't the Tomás José I knew, but the ideal Tomás José. The Tomás José that would have been if he had reached his physical fullness without any kind of condition.
Did all the physical defects disappear
All the defects.
that he presented as a result of the surgery?
He was beautiful. And also I saw him in a suit, in a formal suit that I don't remember ever seeing him in. But it's just that I saw him, well, like I said, with a special glow, I would say, right? There was and also there was an intimate communication between us that was like an emotional connection, right? It's not about having dialogues, but rather a deep connection with him. I felt great joy and I had the urge to go and hug him, but he kind of told me, don't hug me, continue the process. I didn't understand that at the time. Later on in the experience, I did. And I understand today, that if I had hugged him, I probably wouldn't have been able to return. That is to say, when I became aware of that, I couldn't recall that moment without some tears. Today, I saw so much generosity on his part, so much unconditional love that he was able to refrain from hugging me when I knew he intensely wanted to, perhaps to give me the option to return, which at least was part of it. So well, I listened to him. Then I looked to my right, and there was a being of light. A being of light was big. If I am 175 centimeters tall, well, maybe this being of light, which was not at all intimidating, was gentle, but maybe it was 3 meters tall, huh? In my perception from there. But it conveyed to me, acceptance, and it conveyed that acceptance of the mother who embraces her baby. That is, it reassured me, it was calm. It's normal, don't worry. And being in that embrace, well, in front of me appeared something similar, and understand it as a metaphor to 100 simultaneous screens that reflected moments of my life, some very significant, some trivial, right? And that I could, in one go, see the panorama of my life from my birth until I leave life, right? And they caught my attention.
Like if it was like if you see frames and you know the whole movie very well, right? Well, those moments caught my attention when I behaved, let's say, with selfishness, lack of charity, lack of compassion, in a wrong way.
Pues, digamos así, con egoísmo, con falta de caridad, con falta de compasión, de una forma errónea.
And at the same time, they being, well, and every time I saw this, I was getting more and more overwhelmed. And this being of light I mentioned was conveying to me, conveying, relax, everything is fine, nothing is wrong. I must say that this vision was not only a cognitive vision, but also had an experiential aspect, an empathetic aspect that surprised me and caught me off guard. And in those situations of lack of love, of selfishness, well, of failing the other person, I was not only aware of that assessment, but I also felt and think that I didn't have a body, but I felt as if it were in a somatic way and also in an emotional way, in the way of the feelings that were provoked, what I provoked in the other person. I mean, it's as if I received in myself the effect that I had caused in the other, and all of it simultaneously. But I insist, because I don't know how to explain it, but it is like that, both in an emotional way, you know, the feelings of the other person, the disappointment and such, as well as in a physical way, the knot in the stomach, sweaty hands, the discomfort. That made me feel very bad because I became aware of all the mistakes. Meanwhile, that being of light conveyed to me, relax, it was your ignorance. You're not judged. That is to say, but in an emotional way, and I translate it into words. That was extraordinarily intense, and I thought, I have to go back. I want to fix this. A thought came to me. I have to cleanse my karma. It became like something that occupied my entire mind. The being of light conveyed to me, well, if you want to go back, it's okay. And in this emotional intensity, the next thing I felt was like a backward tilt. And the next memory, which is already an earthly memory, is feeling myself inside my body. It was me, not the one who was there, but it was me. And I felt an intense pain in the back between the shoulder blades, and also a pain here in the area in this area, frontotemporal, right? And when with all the discomfort I had, I was, as I said, trapped. And as best as I could, I got out of that situation, and crawling, I went to the bed and spent a few minutes trying to recover, to make sense of that whole experience I had lived through. When I felt strong enough, I got up, went to the living room. There was my wife, and she said to me, "Hey, you have a bump on your head." And I said, yes, it's because I hit myself in the dark. And I got out of that as best as I could. And then from there began a period that I called the dark night of the soul, which was 6 months of a discomfort. It wasn't depression. I didn't have thoughts of ending my life. No. I had simply experienced something very, very shocking that I was trying to find an explanation for, that I didn't understand. And in those 6 months, I did a kind of voracious search, right, to see if I could understand this. I started reading books, watching YouTubes of people who had these experiences. I saw that what I initially thought was something exceptional, unusual, because it's true that I had heard, like many people,
Well, on some television program about NDAs, I had read some book that became bestsellers, like the one by Dr. Raymond Moody. But well, it's part of our culture, right? But as I said, in those 6 months, I was perplexed until I finally talked about it, and that marked another era, and it's the following 2 years.
Extraordinary, Jose. Extraordinary. The description of your near-death experience. There are 3 aspects I would like to clarify, which patients frequently mention in near-death experiences. First, they communicate with the beings they encounter during the near-death experience, not through our usual means of communication, but through thought. In the second place, all their experiences regarding time, which in our 3-dimensional human dimension is linear, past, present, and future, they always refer to it as a single time. Everything is present. Everything is the current moment. Everything is now. And thirdly, the ease they have of moving. That is, there is an ease. The concept of space-time disappears. They mention, for example, if I think I am in Australia, in the antipodes, at the very moment they think it, they find themselves in Australia. These 3 aspects, were you able to truly experience any of them during the near-death experience?
Yes, the first 2 definitely. And the third one, about being in other places, no, I was immersed in my experience. Regarding the time that you mentioned, I want to clarify something which I could support bibliographically, but I'll just mention it. It occurs in people who have the phenomenon, a complex phenomenon, like the one I have described bibliographically. Well, it has been confirmed that it arises at between 15 and 20 seconds after cardiac arrest, and then the process begins. On the other hand, it is also a fact that in an out-of-hospital environment, without any kind of support of cardiopulmonary resuscitation, without any defibrillation maneuvers, well, after about 40 seconds, the heart that has stopped, if it is not subjected to defibrillation, then it does not return to any rhythm, neither sinus nor any other. So I have to say that I am aware that what happened in earthly time happened in at most 20 seconds. From the moment I start having the near-death experience at 20 seconds until the maximum point at which I was naturally defibrillable without any external measures. Well, in this at most 20 seconds, with everything I told you happened, which although I might have explained it in 5 or 10 minutes, I would say, well, in earthly time, an hour and a half, but with tremendous intensity. And regarding the first point, the one about communication, I would say that it is not only communication through thought of contents, but in my experience, it is something that does not exist in normal cognitive thought of language, and it is a tremendous emotional connection. That is to say, I not only knew what Tomás José was thinking, but I was connected with his emotions. We spoke heart to heart without words, all in a, if you like, telepathic way. But not, I think the verbal content is not as important. I have to put it into words, but it was an emotional content, a kind of meta language that I cannot express. And it was the same with the being of light.
Another question I want to mention, which patients with near-death experiences also tell us. They remember their whole life, and the more time passes after the near-death experience, the more present all the experiences they had during the near-death experience are. Have you forgotten it, or do you keep it completely present in your mind and can describe it at any moment with all kinds of details? And the more time passes, the more present it is. Does this happen to you?
Well, look, something curious happens to me. The NDE, the experience of the NDE was a special time with a special luminosity. And now, if I talk to you about my NDE, well, it would be, let's say, a normal memory. But when I relax, if I relax and I immerse myself in the experience as if I were in another part of my brain, well, I recall that experience with an intensity different from my normal experience.
I mean, it's something else.
It's something else, and it's there. And there's a kind of kit that when in conditions of solitude, of deep relaxation and such, I access it. I am able to experience it in a way especially felt with an intensity that I am not capable of in ordinary thought.
The near-death experience you lived through has had a significant psychological impact, especially regarding your existential conception. Is your existential conception now different from what it was before the near-death experience?
Yes, without a doubt it is. I am a family doctor and I enjoy my work a lot, and my original plan was to continue with my profession until the profession left me. That is to say, if I could retire not only at 65, at 67 or 70, well, if my physical condition had allowed it, since nothing prevents me, I would have liked, it was my original plan, I would have liked to continue. You earn more money, it feeds your ego too, feeling useful. You do actions, useful actions, right? And also your environment. Well, it gives you a prestige that you have based on that work you do, right?
For which I was delighted. I did what I liked, and on top of that, they paid me well.
And after the NDE, in that period of dark night of the soul that I tell you, well, I had an intense change of values. I mean, of course, you have to keep living, you need material things, you have to try to provide the best you can for your comfort and for those who depend on you. With money, you can also do good things, but it's no longer that eagerness to say, I want more and more. And when you have one, you want two. And when you want two, you want four. So I did the internal reflection that, considering that by retiring early, I would have enough to live simply for myself and those who depend on me. I wanted to free up time to explore psychology and spirituality and to help in another way. And one of those ways is to give visibility to NDEs, because actually the last question, the big question we ask ourselves is, what happens when we die? That fear of death, according to many.
Have you lost the fear of death, Jose?
Yes, totally. Let's see. I have to say that I didn't have a special fear of death. And the big difference, as the statistics themselves say, is that while in the normal population, 1/3 of the population has a great fear, a terrifying fear of death, and 2/3, well, have a normal fear of death. Nobody likes dying. Well, one thing that the series of studies that have studied this phenomenon say is that those of us who have had NDEs, even those who had it, no longer have it. in such a way that 100% of the people who have had a near-death experience have lost their fear of death. I wouldn't say I want to die. On the contrary, the near-death experience has made me fall in love with life.
I value it even more. But it's about neither fearing it nor seeking it, just waiting for it.
Have you changed since the moment you had your near-death experience? So logically, one considers it a phenomenon, as you are telling us, very important.
Yes.
So, have you had any problems communicating with your family, friends, being able to communicate, share your near-death experience, which for you is something real, something true? Have you had any problems with understanding from your surroundings, family, friends, doctors, etc., in grasping the reality of your near-death experience? Or have you generally seen an attitude of a certain, I wouldn't say disdain, but rather, don't worry, this is a hallucination. This, when one has a problem, well, of cardiac arrest, well, they can have hallucinations and don't give it more importance. Have you noticed this difficulty in communication and expression of your near-death experience with the environment in which you have moved?
Look, I will talk about mine, and I have to say that compared to the experiences of many other people from different backgrounds, from different fields, non-medical fields, when they have done this, well, it has been different, right? I will explain mine. For 6 months, I couldn't speak. I didn't tell my wife or anyone. After that time...
Why didn't you tell it?
No, because of that dark night of the soul, because of that confusion. It's like as if suddenly your life falls apart like a house of cards. And then you say, well, now what do I rebuild and how, right? That's why I tell you that what happened to me affected me deeply. So for 6 months, I kept it to myself, and suddenly one day, a summer night, a night in August, when I had some guests at home, my wife was there, and my daughter too. Well, almost when we were at the table after the meal, in a relaxed moment, a moment of exchanging jokes. Well, I said, look, suddenly. I said, look, I want to tell you something you won't believe. The people, those of us who were there, we were 6 people in total, thought I was going to tell a joke, some funny story or an experience, and I started to tell you this, more or less, as I mentioned before. I could see how people's faces changed, and they went from that joking and relaxed environment to becoming more serious, more surprised. The most surprised, my wife. When I finished my story, she said, I remember that because I remember when the bump happened. Yes, and have you not told it until now? And I have to find out here among friends. Haven't you been able to tell me? And I said, well, no, I haven't been able to. So when I told it in that setting, both my daughter, my wife, and those who were there believed me because they know me. Siento fiece. It wasn't a person, how to say, with delusions, with a paranormal trajectory of strange things. I would say it's the first time they heard something like this from me, both my family and my friends.
Afterwards, well, I started sharing it, but in a very, very intimate setting, let's say.
One day, a woman came to my office who had lost her son. She had lost her son in a dramatic way, an unjust death hit by a drunk driver. And since then, that woman had been in a tremendous pathological grieving process that had changed her life. No? And at a certain moment, and there wasn't a special trust between us, but suddenly I felt like saying, wow, what if I told you that when you die, you will see your son again, that your son is not gone? She was surprised and said to me, I don't believe it.
Someone from there would have to tell me. And I say to her, I say, look, I can explain my experience to you. It caught me at a moment when I had time. I gave her some hints, and I said, and that happened to me. And I can guarantee you that when you die, you meet your loved ones who are at their best, and that reunion is a happy reunion. Nothing is lost here. You will see your son again. And he says to me, if that's the case, I want to die right now. And I said, no. I tell him, I also feel that when you are here, you have the opportunity to grow. You have the opportunity to do. And the best way to nourish their memory, the best way to nourish that reunion is to remember them and remember them until you meet them again, knowing that you will find them. And she told me, look, I'm surprised by what you're telling me, but of course, if you say it is my doctor, I believe you. So confirmed, verified, there was a heart-to-heart connection, and I saw that it had been an incredibly healing experience for her. I saw her again sometime later. Each time, honestly, I saw her doing better, and we had other conversations. And later, when I retired, I haven't seen her again. But that experience made me understand that part of my vision, my life mission, was to give visibility to the phenomenon, because for certain people, people for whom the experience is intended, it has a healing power. And for this healing power, it is worth the effort to make it known. Not only me, as I only have the experience, but you and I are channels. We are instruments of that plan, superior to us, that wants this experience of mine, that wants this certainty of yours, that you transmit through your channel, and that other people do the same, to give them hope. To them, to those who suffer, to those who need this certainty, to those who don't, well, that's another debate.
Extraordinary, wonderful, exciting what you say, Jose. I would also like to make a comment. With in-depth studies of near-death experiences, especially applying theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, we have come to the conclusion that from a structural point of view, the human body the human being is body, which is low-frequency energy collapsed into matter. It is mind, which is high-frequency energy. They are electromagnetic waves that we can record in an electroencephalogram, and then we have our true identity, our superconsciousness, spirit, or non-local consciousness, which is what truly persists after our physical death. It is our true identity that makes us unique and exclusive. Can we contact this supra-consciousness, this existential reality of ours? In the unconscious, it is through the patients we diagnose with clinical death. In your case, well, a stop due to a fight, a total blockage, or a complete fight, there is the possibility of consciously contacting our supra-consciousness. There are other ways, meditation, etc. Have you consciously contacted on any other occasion after your near-death experience with this supra-consciousness of ours, with our existential reality? Have you been able to experience it, contact it on any other occasion, or has it not been possible for you?
Let's see, I have to say that, and I don't want to seem strange here. I mean, I don't want anything to cloud the experience. After this, it is true that having that experience as a reference helps me, so that when I am in a period, in a moment of great relaxation, not only do I relax, but I also manage to reach a certain state. Then I connect with something,
with something special. I returned to that luminosity, but without paranormal consequences. I mean, till I still know the lottery numbers that will come next week, right? That is to say, but yes, I do contact something that, and that has had a consequence on me. And to answer your question, it has made me more spiritual, you know? That is to say, I'm not saying more religious, but more spiritual, more in touch with a spirituality that I didn't know or contact before. And now it seems like I can take flight, but of course nothing to do with that moment of unfolding.
But when you have this feeling of contact with something that brings you closer to your near-death experience without evidently transcendent phenomena, is it accompanied by a sensation of harmony, peace, joy, love, and a feeling of openness, that you are united, that you are a part of everything, that you are connected to the entire universe? Do you feel this sensation?
Well, I would tell you that they are extreme sensations of connection and compassion. I mean, I am convinced that people, great meditators, through effort, also reach states like the one I had during my near-death experience, with a special luminosity, with a special connection that I could not provoke right now, and I also cannot easily provoke it just by doing consecutive breaths. But that referente does help me to say there is something greater than me, which Juan Ramon Jimenez expressed in a very beautiful way, because he said, I am the one who goes with me and the one who will stand when I die.
Wonderful, wonderful. Listen, Jose, we have more or less covered the points, the most important aspects of the near-death experience, but now I offer you an opening, a possibility. Do you want to add anything else, any comment that you consider of interest that could enlighten us further in the deep understanding of near-death experiences? Do you want to make any final comment?
That you consider?
Yes, well, look, what I have told you is that in response to what you asked me. You said describe the story of what happened to you. I describe it to you, and it surely interests people who listen to me, and I understand that I share it. But frankly, for me, what matters is the change that occurs in the person. That change that makes you be and see life differently when you return, when you rework. And I would tell you that it is not such a, how to say, such a beautiful experience that you have it, return enlightened, and then you go floating through life. No. Like I said, after this and after I shared it, it was well received both by those around me in an intimate setting and later by those who listened to it. That time was a tough moment where, as I was saying, everything falls apart and you have to put it all back together. But it causes change. I mean, without crisis, there is no change. Without crisis, one continues planning a pleasant life. So, I also believe today that those 6 months of crisis have been the most fruitful and maturing of my life. So what I say is the litmus test of the NDE is the change. A person who says they have had an NDE but remains tied to selfishness and materialism. Well, I say, well, I'm not one to doubt it. It may be, but it contrasts with my experience.
Well, I believe that what our friend Jose Morales has shared with us is truly extraordinary. It confirms then the knowledge we have about near-death experiences. These experiences, which I have mentioned on occasions, are frequent. There are thousands and thousands of cases described, and the items, the aspects that constitute and structure the near-death experience keep repeating in a very evident and clear way. Jose has shared them with us. I think we have to thank him because he has further enlightened our understanding of near-death experiences. And I think that the case of Jose Morales as a doctor, deeply knowledgeable about the human being, both from the point of view of materiality, anatomy, and physiology, and also in the emotional aspect, just like other doctors, such as the well-known case of Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon from Harvard University. These are aspects and viewpoints that still make us think and reason more deeply about near-death experiences, about the reality of these near-death experiences. They are people, I repeat, who with a deep understanding of the human being are so convinced and sure that the near-death experience is a reality that takes us to another D-dimensional level. We leave our classic three-dimensional human situation to move to another dimension, which highlights our structural reality, what truly makes us unique, exclusive, and it is holistic regarding this structure of ours, this super consciousness, regarding the primary consciousness, the primary intelligence, the principle of all religions. Therefore, I have no choice but to thank once again my good friend, Dr. Jose Morales, for his kindness in sharing this moment with us, discussing near-death experiences, and above all, to thank him for the insight he has given us in understanding and the reality of near-death experiences. Friend Jose, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Manuel.